Hello, this is your Wednesday lecture video for assignment number 3 this week, which was organization. Just a quick word about the assignments this week. First, I know we don't have an assignment number 2 because I haven't assigned the grammar one yet. We've done 1, which was the story of an hour in creative analysis, and now this is 3, organization. And it's with Girl by Jamaica Kincaid. So I'm going to stay with the same text week by week. In the world of novel, we'll do the same text for many, many weeks. And then with poetry, we'll circulate around a few ideas. Usually with short story, we'll stick with the same short story for a week or two. This week, it's just, though, a sampling. I'm trying to give you a lot of different ideas of what sorts of things you'll be reading, and then give you a taste of what it's like to start these assignments each time new, because that is very much the spirit of the AP Lit exam, where you will have a smattering of texts that you have to do some analysis with, and you do that with each one. So that's what this week is meant to feel like, so that you get a true introduction to the style of the, in the end of the day, exam, but also the kinds of stuff in the course. So anyway, that is why we're jumping to Jamaica Kincaid's Girl, and we'll come back to both of these stories throughout the year. They're both wonderful for their own reasons. They're very different from each other. I've asked you to read Girl and then write a paragraph with a claim and defense from the text about that claim. Well, what does that look like? What is a claim? What is a claim when it's done well? And how do I find defensive pieces from the text that I can use to support my claim? I'm going to introduce all of that today and show you a couple of quick examples. So where is this coming from? Here is Standard 7A from the AP Literature curriculum. There's only 7, so this is the last one, the 7th strand. It's literary argumentation. What they want you to do, what I want you to do, what is good for you to do is over time to grow in your sophistication in literary argument and analysis. To develop a paragraph that includes a claim that requires defense and the evidence for the claim, which is exactly what your assignment is. In another way, this is straight from the curriculum. They write, in literary analysis, writers read a text closely to identify details that in combination enable them to make and defend a claim about an aspect of the text. So the bold is mine. What you're doing primarily is just reading that text so pensively and actively that ideas are popping out at you, and you're collecting those ideas so that you can put them in your own words in your argument, in your literary analysis. So what is a claim? From AP Literature, it is simply a statement that requires defense with evidence from the text. That's fine, but it doesn't quite capture that definition, the organic process of making a claim. How do you make a claim? Knowing what it is not the same as having the skills to construct it actively all the time. So I like this other teacher who's featured on my classroom, AP Classroom, Brian Stabnick, and he says his definition is a claim is an accumulation of individual ideas that are brought together in a cohesive manner to form an original and insightful idea. I like that because that gets closer to the process of what it's like to create a claim. When I finish a piece of reading, like Girl, I don't sit there with one idea at the end going, aha, my claim. That's not the process. Instead, as I read, I'm noticing things that are interesting. I'm finding small ideas here and here and here, little buds of thought. And I collect those all together to form one cohesive, insightful, and original claim. That is what I'd like you to do. So where can you find these pieces? How do you come up with these micro ideas? Well, as you read, think about an important sentence. Maybe there was a sentence that stopped you. Maybe a word. I keep, as I read this piece, finding the word bene. I want to understand, what is that, bene? Or a whole paragraph. Less the case with this Jamaica Kincaid story, because the whole thing is a single paragraph. But when I read The Story of an Hour and did creative analysis for you all on Sunday, that paragraph I keyed in on about the way that she noticed women and men impose their will on one another. That's a great example of something you could stop on, highlight, and wonder, what is the little idea I have right here? Maybe it's a symbol. Either way, as you read, you're finding these tiny pieces and you're noting them, either in your mind, or if you need to, as I do, writing them just a little bit as I understand what it is that I'm seeing in my mind. So each of these can lead to a great small idea, and when you pull those individual small ideas together, you can make your bigger, more important, and impactful claim. Why do they matter so much? Short term, this is going to be key for your AP Lit exam later in May. A claim is one of the 6 points that you can earn on your FRQs and your fear response questions. But in the long term, claims demonstrate your ability to think through problems, and that will reveal itself in so many different ways. We had a plumber out to try to fix the pipes in our bathroom, and finally, on our third plumber, over the course of about a year, this wonderful man named Wayne figured out our problem. He was standing in our bathroom and listening until he heard the drips coming in a different part of the house. It was his ability to see through some of the clutter and get past the textbook readings that maybe he had used as a plumber in training to develop his own novel idea and fix our problem. It's that scenario times 1,000 that forms your rich and wonderful life, where you're able to constantly find ways through problems with novelty, novel, new thinking. So that's a claim. It's a really great and wonderful skill that we're developing here. What makes a good claim? I said it just now, but it's novelty. It's originality. It's coming up with something that's true in your mind. And the weak claims don't really get into that at all. They can sort of guess at an idea, but there is not a lot of ownership of an individual idea. Good claims present an original idea, present that idea with confidence because they trust themselves. So what I'm offering to you today is trust your mind, trust your ideas, trust the idea that you had as you were reading that was floating around is worthwhile. And then connect it to the evidence. So good claims are rooted in the text, they're rooted in evidence, they are focused right here, and they don't move away too far. And you might know that danger, especially if you love writing, where you start to say, reminds me of how all humans struggle with. Careful, stay close to the text. A claim and its evidence will be very interested in what is on the page. And then good claims convince the reader those tiny details, those smaller ideas are important. Weak claims restate the prompt. That's that guessing at an idea. Maybe if I just say it differently. Weak claims are generic and vague, or they have a generic and a helpful or good even claim, but it's not connected to the prompt. So the prompt I asked you to consider was to write a paragraph where you make a claim about characterization. It's deliberately kind of a vague prompt, and you collect evidence towards that idea of characterization. All right, so characterization. There's really only 2 characters in this vignette. There is this, I'm going to call this elder speaker, and then there is the girl, who's the object of the monologue. As I read this piece, I am collecting pieces of evidence that I find interesting. So I found this first one when the speaker turns to the girl and actually asks her a question. Is it true that you sing Benna in Sunday school? I found that to be really interesting because the rest of this piece is a series of directives. Do this, do this, do this. This is how you do this. So when she asks a question or he asks a question, whoever this elder is, I lit up and noted. She wants to know something. But I don't really think they want to know much. I think that that is more of an accusation, and I'll get into that. Because then a few lines later, the line is, don't sing Benna in Sunday school. And the girl responds. It takes a while, but the girl finally says, but I don't sing Benna in Sunday school. And lastly, when the girl says, but what if the baker won't let me feel the bread? I hear her voice coming through again, and that is interesting to me. I think it's interesting how both times the girl speaks, she starts with the word but. There is a built-in disclaimer or a hedge instead of asserting herself with strength. And then that last line where the elder sort of wins totally diminishes anything that she said in the first place. So here is what I'm thinking about that. There's these little moments where the girl is asserting her voice. But when she does assert her voice, it's not much of an assertion. She takes a long time to even explain that she doesn't really sing Benna on Sundays. And when she asks, but what if the baker won't let me feel the bread? She is immediately discredited as even having asked that question. So these tinny little moments where her voice in italics peeks through, they're shut down. I think that's interesting. If I'm to build a characterization of this girl, I am going to say she doesn't have much of a character at all. She's encouraged not to. So here's my attempt at writing that out. My claim is the girl who is the object of the narrator's clipped, authoritative monologue does not have a voice to assert in the torrent of non-step orders, which is the point of the story. That's my claim. And my evidence, you can just glance and see a little evidence because I do have some quotes there that I've added in quotes. At other times I paraphrase, but I'm trying to stay close to the text. The girl's voice, represented by italics, there's a piece of evidence, fades in and out of the vignette only twice, and both times beginning with but. She refutes and questions the stream of orders in only the mildest and meekest of ways. I'm trying to analyze that idea of the word but. Even when she answers her elder's question, she doesn't assert her truth until many orders later, after she's been told to act like a lady and eat in a particular way. So I'm trying to capture the distance between her response to the question and the question. One can imagine her building her courage and summoning her resolve as she dares to disagree with this, the omnipotent, oppressive voice. By the end, when the girl wonders whether she can touch the bread, the speaker wins again. She shouldn't have needed to ask the question in the first place. It would seem there is nothing the girl can say that is worth hearing. Kind of a sad analysis, but sort of, in my eyes, a bit of a sad story. So, of course, my analysis will match the way I feel about it. All right, so this is your task. Please feel free to choose characterization of the speaker who is interesting in themselves or the girl. It's not a ton of movement here because it's a short piece. But because of that, I'm hoping that you find some liberty within the tight frame to talk about characterization with a claim in a paragraph. I look forward to reading them. Please, by the way, logistically, put them in your big Google Docs for now.